Ever rubbed a balloon on your head and noticed your hair standing up? Or seen a balloon stick to a wall? It almost feels like some invisible force is at work, right? Spoiler alert, that invisible force is electric charge. And today, we're covering one of the most intuitive ways to see this force in action with this balloon. Let's check it out. Say you want to stick this balloon to this wall. If you just let go, 9 out of 10 times, it's just gonna fall. You have two options. You can either use tape or you can use physics. And obviously, we're gonna use physics. To stick the balloon to the wall, you first need to charge it. And to charge it, you can rub the balloon on your hair, a wool sweater, or if you're me, your cat. Meet Antonio, our lovely assistant for the day. And before you say anything, I asked him if he wanted to be in the video. He said meow, which I'm choosing to interpret as a yes. I rub the balloon on Antonio and stick it to the wall. And then we go, ta-da! The balloon now sticks. No glue, no tape, just physics. But what's really going on here? To understand that, we need to talk about electrons. Everything around us is made of atoms. And atoms are made of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Let's take a quick look at a model. This is known as the Bohr model. And this is the nucleus. Think of it as a cozy little house that the protons and neutrons live in. Protons contain positive charge, whereas neutrons contain no charge, meaning that they're neutral. Protons and neutrons are homebodies, meaning that they don't really like to leave the nucleus that much. Electrons, on the other hand, are the explorer type. They orbit around the nucleus in rings, almost like the rings of Saturn. Unlike protons, electrons are free to move and they contain negative charge. Normally, atoms live in a neutral state, meaning that the number of protons is equal to the number of electrons. Let's take a look at an example. So let's say we have an atom that has three protons, and it has 3 electrons. That means that the net charge is equal to 0. We would say that this atom is neutral. So what if we were to remove an electron, right? So now in this example, we have 3 protons, but only 2 electrons. So that means the net charge would be positive. I'll ask you, you brainiac, what do you think would happen if we were to add an electron to our original example? Okay, so back to it. We have 3 protons and we have 4 electrons. So that means that we have a net negative charge. All right, and that brings us to one of our very first laws or rules in this course. And that is, if an atom or an object gains electrons, it becomes negatively charged. However, if an object loses electrons, it becomes positively charged. Electrons are the only ones that move, and so causing static electricity. Science gives us one more helpful rule, and that's like charges repel and opposites attract. By that we mean if you had a positive charge and a positive charge, or a negative charge and a negative charge next to each other, nature is going to say get them as far away as possible from each other. And that's known as repulsion. However, if you have a positive charge and a negative charge, nature wants to bring them closer together so they can share their electrons and seek balance. And this is known as attraction. These charges are pushed apart or pulled together by an electric force. Okay, back to our balloon. At first, Antonio and the balloon were neutral, but when I rub the balloon on his fur, friction causes electrons to move. And so Antonio lost electrons and so became positively charged, whereas the balloon gained electrons and became negatively charged. So now we have a charge imbalance. And thanks to law number 2, opposites attract, we now know that Antonio and the balloon are electrically drawn to each other. But wait, how do we know it's Antonio that loses electrons and not the balloon? Well, I'm glad you asked. That's all thanks to this thing called the triboelectric series, meaning that some materials tend to hold on to electrons tighter than others. Hair and fur, for example, well, they tend to give away electrons. Balloons, they love hoarding electrons. So, because of the triboelectric series, when two materials meet, we know which is likely to give away electrons and which one is likely to steal. Let's go back to the wall. Why does the balloon stick there too? To explain, we'll need help from a simulation. Shout out to the University of Colorado's PhET lab. If you bring a negatively charged balloon close to a neutral wall, something interesting happens. The electrons on the wall are pushed away slightly, and that's because they're repelled by the electrons in the balloon. This leaves a small area of positive charge on the surface of the wall. And thanks to law number 2, opposites attract, we know that those two will stick together. Ding ding ding! We have now solved the mystery! Congratulations! Let's bring it all back home. Nature doesn't like imbalance. When there's a charge difference, electrons move to fix it. They always flow from areas with extra electrons to areas with fewer electrons. And this concept explains so much, like how electricity moves in a circuit, why lightning strikes the ground, and why you get shocked when you walk on a carpet. That's just electrons jumping from an area of high concentration to low concentration. So, the next time you hear your sweater crackling, your clothes sticks in the dryer, or you see a lightning bolt in the sky, just know it's electrons trying to find peace. Alright, see you in the next one.
If you like what you've seen so far, you should visit our website and check out our electronics and coding kit. It comes with all the videos, all the lessons, all the code, all the labs, and all the project files. So yeah, link in the description and happy learning.